Hello, my name is William, and I'm going to be discussing a topic with everybody out there. It's depression. Everybody knows what it is, it's everywhere. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about it and how it affects me in my life since the beginning, when it started to affect me, and how I came to be. So, first things first, I lived with my mom till I was about 13 to 12, and I went through the court system and I decided to live with my dad. For a good brief year and a half, my dad and my mom fought each other, spending thousands of dollars, not caring about me and my brother, how we felt and how it was affecting us in our school life and how it was affecting everybody around us. Um, But after a while, I did get moved over to my dad's, and he had his own company. He had basically everything set up. He had a wife, my stepmom. Her name was Stephanie something. I don't know. But she was nice for a little bit, and me and my brother lived pretty decent for a good while. For a good year, maybe less. Um, then we what was it? Um, yeah, no, we lived good for a good long while. And then Christmas came around, and my stepmom was always really, really greedy. She always wanted my dad's check, and he would give her money for bills. She would go spend it somewhere else and then keep asking him for the money. So one time my dad just got fed up with it. It was the day before Christmas, I believe, and they were getting into it. He wouldn't give her a check, and she started screaming and yelling. So he said, "All right, I'm gonna take my boys, and we're gonna go out for the night, and we're gonna come back tomorrow. Maybe Christmas will make this a little worse than it is." So we left for a night. I cannot remember where we went, but we came back, and the entire house was cleaned out except for the kitchen. The kitchen was still fully stocked with just the whole kitchen. Everything else, including me and my brother's presents, were gone. My father was making good money running his business, to where, but slightly before this, the Christmas, I think it was either a month or a couple weeks before, my stepmom said that she was going to be his secretary, do his paperwork, and do all the bidding and whatnot, so that he could just go to the job, set it up, get it going, and then move on to the next. So, because she didn't want him hanging around a secretary, and so when that happened, she didn't do her job at all, and she ran the company into the ground. I know there's probably another side of the story that's completely different and probably sounds, I guess, less worse, but that's what I know. So all our Christmas presents are gone, and we had to basically just take a kitchen and move to a different house with like maybe one quarter, 1/4 of what we had before. So, and my dad, what he all got us for Christmas was each an iPad, 50-inch flat screen TV, surround sound, Blu-ray players, set up. Um, what else? He got us a ping pong table, a game room set up, just a few other trinkets and stuff that were still pretty expensive. And she took everything, everything. So we were basically had to restart. It took my dad a long time to recover, which is how we ended up in a trap house after a while, which I'll get to that. But we moved into a duplex where I barely remembered being there. Just, it was bad times. That's all I gotta say. After a while, my dad got a better deal on a house that was across town. It was in St. Helens, Oregon. We moved across town, and it was a really cheap house. And something happened with the bank and the owner, and it got put into like it froze. Like the bank didn't own it, and the owner didn't technically own it, so it was just floating around, and we were already uh, vacating it. So no, we were already staying there. So we got to stay there for over a year for free, which in that time it turned into a complete trap house. There was over probably 10 people living in a two-bedroom house with one bathroom. Yeah, and it was tweakers everywhere except me and my friends. We didn't have any food hardly ever. It was the nastiest thing. The kitchen was always a mess, sink always full, rotten food. And I lived in a room which was technically a closet. It was like Harry Potter's room, but with like a full roof to where I could, I could stand up all the way through. I lived there for, like I said, over a year and a half with shit going crazy. My brother was 18 when he got his first, when he got his girlfriend pregnant with his first kid, and then he was, I believe, 20 when he had his second, and that really screwed him over because the woman was bipolar. She was tweaking. She had some really bad stuff going on, and it was just terrible. I started smoking at that time, at the beginning of that, cigarettes and pot. Uh, I did mushrooms in that house. I did acid. I did bad things. And in school, I didn't. I hardly ever showed up just because I was so tired and stoned, and it just was never good. It was never a good time. But after that, I believe we moved down to Medford to get a new start because my dad got a new girlfriend and they became pretty close and we just wanted to start new. So we moved down to Medford and we stayed with her father. And this man was different. Like, I have never met anybody like him. He was a veteran. He This man could leave the house with nothing, come back with 20 bucks and a six pack, and already be drunk. Like, it was insane. He was a decent man, I would say. He owned a little apartment. I slept on a couch, and Medford was really hot. It just sucked. There was food. Guess you could call it living good. It's still pretty bad, but after a while, my dad was working. He kept leaving, going out of town. He, my, oh yeah, my dad went out of town, and he was working up in Seattle. Seattle's pretty damn far, so I had to take a train up there. And needless to say, I was with Bart because I was kind of young, and this man got kicked off the bus in Pendleton, and he bet me $10 and a bud of weed that he would beat me to Seattle. And I told him okay, and he made it to Tacoma when I was, well, just before Tacoma, and That's where he was staying. I was going up to Seattle, all the way up to a different job site where my dad was, and he beat me. Needless to say, he got there. Like I was kind of surprised because I was on a train, he was hitchhiking. But anyway, we worked up there for a while, and my dad employed his son, Bart's son, which he was lazy, did a lot of drugs, and he skipped over a lot of things when we were remodeling Sprint and Radio Shack stores. He, yeah, that's all I gotta say. His name is Reed Tardif, by the way. Just saying. He sucks. He screwed my family, my dad, my brother, and I, which we were trying to get a home with this money. He screwed us out of $70,000, through which Bart, once my dad went off on Phoenix, Bart, his dad, well, his name's Reed, but people call him Phoenix, whatever. So Bart, his dad, kicked us out of his house, so we had nowhere to go with no money. So I was homeless for a good 2 months. We lived in Ashland at Immigrant Lake, which we didn't have very much money, so we could barely afford food. I don't know how, but we could always afford alcohol, and our neighboring people who were camping, they had weed. So that whole time is a big blur because I just got fucked up beyond belief. There was actually this one time where we cut a watermelon in half, chopped it up, poured vodka in it, let it soak, and we ate a bunch of it, and then drank more vodka, and then rum, and then whiskey, and later got pretty late, and my stepmom, she was like 24 years old, my dad's like 48, I think, and she's like running around like, come on, let's go swimming down in the lake. And the first thing I do is look at her, and I barf all over my lap. It was a pretty horrific sight because the next morning I woke up with puke all the way down my fucking leg. But anyway, um, after we were homeless, I couldn't take it anymore just because there was so much drama going on. So I decided to go live with my mom, which worked out for a few months, which I got good grades, I got things accomplished, and then I got caught smoking weed because it's a hard habit to break. And I moved back to my dad's, which was a bad idea because my dad's was actually my brother's and his girlfriend's house, where she was freaking out 24/7, which was a terrible time in my life because I had to yell at a woman that was older than me, so I was disrespecting an elder, but she would yell at her kids, like scream in their face, like bad shit. Like, I watched this bitch on Xanax holding her baby drop off the couch, like drop the baby, and the only expression she had on her face was, and then she passed out 5 minutes later, sitting like no joke. It was terrible. So after that, um, my brother was getting kicked out of his house, so I had to move, and my best friend said that I could go bunk with him, and his parents were okay with it. So I did that, and I lived there for a couple of years. Now that actually was terrible. I'm not gonna go into it, but the people were good. They treated me with, kindness, respect. They gave me food. There was just a lot of other things that made me stressed and depressed all the time. So after that, I moved back down to my mom's. I got my license. I started up a bank account. I got a job. I started getting good grades. I've just accomplished a lot in a matter of, I think it is 7 months. I've just been saving money. And then, yeah, the only thing that really is messing with me right now, it's kind of making me depressed, is I severed my pinky tendon, and now there is a lot of medical bills that I can't really afford to pay, but I still have money saved up, so if I have to, I can still, shuffle it out. But then I'll be starting from nothing, and that 7 months of me working will be gone, all the money. But that's basically brought you up to about now. I really appreciate you watching this video. It is my story on how I became who I am. And yeah, it just really sucks because no matter what, I can't escape it. Depression is the main topic of this whole thing, and it's basically been a mind rape the whole time. But I feel like I've gotten most of my stuff together. I'm still depressed in certain moments, but I have every right to be. And yeah, like I said, I really appreciate you watching this. It means a lot, and I hope you watch my other videos.